Even the SEALs hesitated. That's not something you hear every day, and it's certainly not something that would happen lightly. These were men and women trained to operate in the most extreme circumstances the world has to offer. Years of rigorous training, countless operations behind enemy lines, the kind of experience that turns fear into a manageable tool rather than a paralyzing force. They had seen it all, or so it seemed. And yet, in this moment, there was a pause, a subtle but unmistakable hesitation that rippled through the entire team. It was the kind of pause that can only occur when the situation is unlike anything they have faced before. It wasn't just the enemy or the environment. It was something else entirely, something that gave them a fraction of doubt in a world where hesitation can be deadly. The setting was tense, almost suffocating. Smoke from a distant explosion hung low over the terrain, curling around obstacles and debris, and the faint metallic scent of blood and gun oil filled the air. Every step taken, every breath drawn, carried weight. The SEALs were scanning the area with eyes trained to notice the smallest detail, fingers tight on their triggers, muscles ready to respond at a moment's notice. Yet even in this readiness, there was a pause. It was almost imperceptible at first, a slight narrowing of eyes, a minor shift in stance, a brief falter in the rhythm of their movements. But those who knew them, who had trained alongside them and understood the mechanics of their fearlessness, recognized it instantly. Something had entered the equation that even they hadn't anticipated. The enemy was dangerous, yes, highly skilled and ruthless, but they had faced dangerous opponents before. What caused the SEALs to lower their weapons for even a heartbeat wasn't the usual threat. It was the uncertainty surrounding what would come next, the unknown factor that no amount of training could fully account for. In combat, confidence is as important as accuracy. Hesitation can cost lives, and in this instance, it seemed the hesitation was born not of fear, but of recognition. Recognition of something extraordinary, something they had never encountered, yet could sense immediately. It was as if the entire battlefield had shifted, the rules momentarily suspended, demanding a response that even these elite operatives could not instantly calculate. Every movement on their part was precise, deliberate, and yet restrained, a balance between readiness and caution. They were waiting, watching, analyzing, calculating, and still there was that edge of uncertainty, that sliver of doubt that made them hold back just enough to avoid committing fully to action. In those few seconds, the world contracted around them. The usual cacophony of combat sounds, the snapping of twigs, the whine of bullets, the distant shouts, faded into a tense silence in which every heartbeat sounded louder than the last. In this silence, the mind races, instincts flare, and experience collides with anticipation, creating a tension that is almost unbearable to anyone who has not lived through such moments. Even the most disciplined operators felt the weight of possibility pressing down, a crushing awareness that the next move could define the outcome of the encounter. It was a moment when the familiar had become unfamiliar, when training alone could not dictate the correct response. Each SEAL had spent countless hours in simulations, countless drills where split-second decisions were rehearsed over and over again. But those exercises could never fully replicate the real-time uncertainty that now surrounded them. Even in a career defined by exposure to danger, they were experiencing a rare and almost surreal hesitation, the kind that precedes an extraordinary event, the kind that signals that what is about to happen will not be ordinary, will not be predictable, and will demand more than skill. It will demand courage in its purest form. In that pause, in that suspended moment where the elite warriors held their weapons just a fraction away from engagement, the entire dynamic of the situation shifted. The hesitation itself became a signal, a subtle acknowledgement that something unprecedented was entering the scene. It was the calm before a storm, the pregnant pause that tells you the rules are about to change, that what comes next will test limits, bend expectations, and defy prediction. And in that pause, as every second stretched into what felt like an eternity, the battlefield seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the extraordinary force that would shatter the hesitation and redefine everything that had come before. She steps into the kill zone. That simple act, so ordinary in description, carried a weight and intensity that few could ever truly comprehend. In the world of high-stakes combat, the kill zone is not just a physical space. It is a crucible of risk, where the margin for error collapses and every decision is amplified 1,000-fold. To enter it is to place oneself directly in the crosshairs of danger, to challenge the chaos head-on, and to confront a reality where hesitation can mean defeat and courage can tip the scales in the blink of an eye. The air was thick with tension, each second stretching into an eternity, and all eyes, even those of the most elite SEALs, turned toward her, a mixture of awe, apprehension, and recognition flickering across their faces. Every step she took was deliberate, calculated, yet fluid, moving with the kind of confidence that comes not from recklessness but from mastery. Her senses were heightened, every sound, shadow, and movement filtered through experience and instinct, her mind processing data faster than anyone around her could fully perceive. The kill zone, a space designed to overwhelm, to trap, to exploit weakness, was transformed by her presence into a field of opportunity. What others would see as insurmountable danger, she perceived as a sequence of moments to control, to navigate, and ultimately to dominate. In that space, time slowed, and the rules of engagement became pliable, bending under the weight of her determination and skill. The environment itself seemed almost sentient, responding to her movement in subtle ways. Dust rose where her boots brushed the ground, catching the dim light in fleeting flashes, while shadows danced and stretched across the walls of the confined area. The terrain was uneven, littered with obstacles, hiding spots, and traps that could ensnare the unprepared, yet she moved as if the layout had been etched into her memory long before she ever set foot there. Each step was both a challenge to the danger surrounding her and a declaration that she would not be deterred. Her body, finely tuned by rigorous training, carried her with balance, strength, and precision, every motion a perfect blend of aggression and control, projecting confidence into a space designed to strip it away. Those observing her, the SEALs, the other operatives who had entered countless deadly zones before, could only watch. Even with their experience, even with their preparation, the sheer audacity of stepping directly into the kill zone without hesitation created a moment of pause. It was not defiance for its own sake, nor a reckless gamble. It was a clear, unspoken command to the battlefield itself that the rules had changed. Her presence altered the dynamics, reshaping the strategies of both allies and enemies. Every adversary in that zone, trained and dangerous as they were, had to recalibrate, even if only subconsciously, because the person moving through it did not behave as expected. The kill zone is not forgiving, and it punishes miscalculations without mercy, yet she moved as though the danger existed to be measured, not feared. Her eyes scanned the perimeter constantly, calculating angles, distances, and trajectories, assessing risk and opportunity simultaneously. Each potential threat was cataloged, prioritized, and either neutralized in her mind before it manifested or prepared for with an almost preternatural readiness. Her hands remained steady, muscles taut but controlled, prepared to act instantaneously at the first sign of movement that threatened her objective. The air itself seemed to hum with tension, charged by the awareness that she was not merely present in the zone, she was commanding it, asserting dominance through sheer audacity and skill. Every observer could feel it, the shift in momentum, the subtle change in energy that occurs when one person moves through a space with complete mastery, turning what should have been a trap into a stage. The enemies poised to strike were forced to confront an unpredictable force, someone who refused to adhere to their expectations, someone whose audacity disrupted patterns and shattered assumptions. Her calculated courage created uncertainty, even fear, in those trained to exploit it, giving her an edge that went beyond mere physical prowess. In that kill zone, every heartbeat became a measure of tension, every movement an opportunity to assert control, and every second brought her closer to reshaping the outcome in ways that were impossible to ignore. Split-second decisions determine life or death. In the heat of a battlefield, where chaos reigns and every second stretches into an eternity, there is no room for hesitation. Every movement, every choice, every subtle shift in focus can become the difference between survival and catastrophe. These are the moments that separate the trained from the unprepared, the brave from the reckless, and the successful from the defeated. On this day, in this kill zone, the stakes had never been higher. The environment itself seemed to press in from all sides, a mixture of smoke, debris, and shadows creating a labyrinth of potential threats, each one capable of ending the mission or a life with brutal efficiency. The SEALs, elite as they were, had trained for years to react instinctively under pressure, to process danger faster than most minds could comprehend. Yet even they, seasoned operators accustomed to chaos, were aware that the presence of a single variable could upend everything. And in that moment, that variable had stepped into the center of the zone, a figure moving with a combination of precision, confidence, and daring that demanded instant recalibration. Every decision that followed was compressed into fractions of a second, mental calculations occurring faster than human consciousness could normally process, because in this environment, hesitation was far too costly. The first instinct was assessment: size up the terrain, recognize enemy positions, anticipate threats, evaluate escape routes. Every second spent analyzing, however brief, carried weight. Split-second judgment required balancing aggression with caution, intuition with training, and speed with accuracy. The difference between life and death could hinge on noticing a slight flicker of movement, a faint sound, or the almost imperceptible shift of an opponent's stance. In combat, micro-decisions compound exponentially. One misjudgment can cascade into catastrophic outcomes, and one precise action can neutralize multiple threats at once. The pressure of that reality compressed the mind, forcing focus to sharpen, instincts to dominate, and fear to become an ally rather than a hindrance. The operative in the kill zone moved with awareness that time was no longer linear. Each step, each glance, each breath was measured against the backdrop of immediate threat and opportunity. There was no room for doubt, because doubt invites error, and error is fatal. She had internalized the principles of decision-making under extreme duress, allowing training and instinct to merge into an almost preternatural response. While the enemies scrambled to anticipate her moves, she calculated theirs, adjusting her actions in real time with astonishing precision. What would take most people several seconds to process was completed in a fraction of a second, decisions layering upon one another to produce fluid, lethal efficiency. For the SEALs observing, the speed and decisiveness of her actions were as impressive as they were necessary. Even in their own heightened state of readiness, they recognized the impossibility of fully predicting what she would do next. The kill zone, designed to trap, intimidate, and overwhelm, was no longer a simple battlefield. It had become a stage for calculated mastery. Each decision she made created ripples across the environment. An enemy forced to divert attention, a weapon neutralized before it could be raised, a path cleared through what had been a deadly maze. It was the embodiment of split-second decision-making, magnified by circumstances so extreme that even seasoned warriors were momentarily humbled by the speed and precision required. The mental toll of these decisions cannot be overstated. Cognitive load, stress, and adrenaline interact in ways that can both enhance and impair performance. To maintain clarity, to act decisively under such conditions, one must possess a rare combination of mental resilience, situational awareness, and trust in one's instincts. In the kill zone, she exhibited all of these qualities in real time, demonstrating that true mastery is not simply about physical capability, but about mental fortitude. Every choice, from whether to advance or hold position, to the targeting of threats and the timing of movements, was a testament to her ability to process immense information instantaneously while maintaining control of both herself and the environment around her. This continuous stream of rapid, high-stakes decisions defined the encounter. Each moment offered multiple possibilities, and each possibility had consequences. Life or death hinged on the accuracy, timing, and execution of actions performed in mere fractions of a second. There was no rehearsal, no second chance, and no room for error. Yet, in the midst of the chaos, in the heart of the kill zone, she executed with a calm certainty that belied the danger surrounding her, turning split-second choices into decisive advantages, converting potential threats into opportunities for control and dominance, and proving that in the world of extreme combat, precision and courage can bend even the most lethal environment to one's will. Precision and skill changed the outcome of the battle. In the chaos of a high-stakes conflict, where seconds stretch into lifetimes and every movement carries immense consequence. Raw courage alone is rarely enough. It is precision and skill, honed through years of training and countless experiences, that can tip the scales in favor of survival and victory. Each action must be deliberate, yet instantaneous, each decision informed by both instinct and meticulous calculation. In this particular scenario, the battlefield was unforgiving, littered with obstacles, unpredictable hazards, and adversaries as capable and determined as anyone could be. Yet in the midst of this chaos, there was one operative whose mastery of her craft transformed what would have been a near-impossible situation into a display of lethal efficiency. The enemies she faced were not novices. They were trained, experienced, and ruthless, each capable of exploiting the smallest misstep. In most situations, an error of timing, an inaccurate movement, or a slight misjudgment of distance could prove fatal. Yet she moved with a level of precision that seemed almost unnatural, every step, every aim, and every response executed with flawless coordination. It was a dance of lethal intent, where one miscalculated movement by her opponents could be instantly capitalized upon, while her own movements remained fluid, deliberate, and perfectly timed. The battlefield, though chaotic and dangerous, became a space where skill converted uncertainty into control and risk into opportunity. The SEALs, even as they observed her actions, recognized the subtle mastery at play. Their weapons remained poised, their instincts alert, yet they could see that her control over the situation was extraordinary. It was not simply that she reacted quickly. It was that her reactions were precise, each calibrated to neutralize threats while minimizing exposure. The difference between chaos and control in that moment was entirely her ability to integrate observation, strategy, and execution into seamless action. Every movement told a story of preparation meeting opportunity, of years of discipline distilled into a single instant that could determine the fate of everyone in the zone. Precision in combat is not limited to the obvious act of firing a weapon or striking a target. It extends to movement, timing, and spatial awareness. She navigated the kill zone with an almost preternatural understanding of angles, lines of sight, and cover. Each footstep was measured, each turn calculated to optimize both offense and defense, turning what should have been limitations of space into advantages. The layout of the battlefield, which might have trapped a less skilled operator, instead became a map of opportunity, every piece of debris, every shadow, and every object incorporated into her strategy with meticulous attention to detail. In that way, her skill transformed the environment itself into an ally, allowing her to move through danger with both confidence and deadly efficiency. Skill is inseparable from mental acuity, and her mind worked as swiftly and accurately as her body. Threats were identified, analyzed, and neutralized in rapid succession. She anticipated movements, read intentions, and adjusted in real time, all while maintaining awareness of her own position and the safety of her team. Precision and skill in this context were not just about hitting targets. They were about controlling the narrative of the encounter, dictating the flow of engagement, and imposing order upon chaos. The adversaries found themselves reacting to her decisions, forced into a defensive posture they had not anticipated, their own strategies unraveling as her mastery became apparent. Even the smallest margin of error can prove costly in a high-intensity kill zone. Yet she demonstrated that when skill and precision are applied flawlessly, margins expand, and previously insurmountable challenges become manageable. The outcome of the battle hinged upon split-second actions executed with a level of focus that is almost impossible to sustain under extreme stress. The timing of her moves, the accuracy of her aim, and the efficiency with which she neutralized threats all combined to create a sequence of events that transformed the encounter from a potential disaster into an extraordinary display of tactical brilliance. As the conflict unfolded, it became clear that the difference between survival and defeat, between success and failure, was not mere chance. Precision and skill, years of training, countless hours of practice, and an innate understanding of combat dynamics dictated the flow of events. Each calculated action she took reshaped the battlefield, forcing adversaries into mistakes, creating openings, and controlling outcomes in a way that few could imagine. In the heart of danger, skill amplified courage, turning audacity into effectiveness, and transforming a chaotic kill zone into a theater of controlled action and inevitable advantage. Fearlessness inspires even the most elite warriors. In the heat of battle, courage is often measured not by absence of fear, but by the ability to act decisively despite it. The SEALs, individuals trained to confront danger at every turn, are not easily shaken. Their composure is forged through years of grueling exercises, life-threatening scenarios, and relentless discipline. Yet even they, standing amid chaos, could not ignore the impact of the fearlessness displayed before them. It was a presence that demanded attention, a force that transcended skill alone, and a reminder that true bravery can alter the dynamics of any conflict. This kind of courage is magnetic, drawing not only respect, but also inspiration from all who witness it. She moved with a confidence that was both calculated and instinctive, a balance that comes only from total mastery of one's capabilities and an unwavering belief in the mission at hand. Each motion, each decision, and each calculated risk conveyed to everyone present that hesitation was not an option, and that fear could not dictate action. For the SEALs observing, this was extraordinary. They had trained alongside the best, faced scenarios meant to strip away composure. Yet here was someone who could project calm and dominance in a situation that could have overwhelmed even seasoned operators. Her fearlessness did not just influence the environment, it reshaped it, altering how both allies and adversaries perceive the battle. In combat, fear is a subtle, pervasive force. It creeps into decisions, clouds judgment, and can turn the simplest engagement into a complex struggle against one's own instincts. Yet fearlessness, when genuine and intentional, becomes a tool rather than a hindrance. It allows rapid, precise action under conditions where the mind and body are pushed to their absolute limits. The effect is contagious. When one person demonstrates unwavering resolve, it strengthens the confidence of those around them, and even the most skilled adversaries are forced to recalibrate their strategies. In this kill zone, her courage radiated like a force field, influencing every decision, every movement, and every assessment made by everyone in the immediate area. The SEALs, accustomed to facing lethal threats and making split-second life-or-death choices, were momentarily reminded that no level of training can fully prepare a person for raw, authentic bravery. What she displayed was beyond textbook tactics or procedural knowledge. It was an internal mastery, a mental and emotional fortitude that could not be replicated through drills alone. Every move she made, every choice executed with confidence, broadcasted a silent message. I am not afraid, and I am in control. That message resonated with her allies, instilling a quiet but potent determination, and it unsettled her adversaries, creating uncertainty in their movements and hesitation in their attacks. Fearlessness in action also demands clarity. To act boldly without understanding one's environment or the potential consequences is reckless. To act boldly with perfect situational awareness is transformative. She combined both qualities, a synthesis of courage and intellect that allowed her to dominate the space around her. Her actions demonstrated to everyone present that bravery alone is powerful, but when paired with precision, strategy, and timing, it becomes unstoppable. Even the most elite operators could only marvel at the effect, recognizing that true fearlessness can inspire, protect, and even redefine the parameters of a battle. Beyond the tactical advantages, the psychological impact of such courage cannot be overstated. Allies, seeing her move forward without hesitation, find their own doubts diminished, their confidence bolstered by the example set. Enemies, confronted with audacious action that defies their expectations, experience a subtle but critical shift, hesitation, miscalculation, and ultimately vulnerability. The difference between hesitation and action can mean the difference between survival and defeat, and her fearlessness created the conditions for decisive, effective responses from those around her, while simultaneously imposing doubt upon those who opposed her. In that moment, the battlefield became a stage where fearlessness was as significant a weapon as any firearm, where courage could dictate the tempo of engagement, and where audacity inspired even the most experienced warriors to rethink the rules of engagement. The presence of such fearlessness elevates a mission from mere execution into an extraordinary display of human capability, mental resilience, and emotional control, proving that in moments of ultimate danger, bravery can inspire, protect, and ultimately transform the outcome of events in ways that pure skill alone cannot achieve. One operative turns the tide against overwhelming odds. In the midst of chaos, where numbers, firepower, and the relentless weight of threat seem insurmountable, it takes more than training or luck to shift the balance. It takes a presence that commands attention, a mind that calculates with clarity under pressure, and a body that executes with precision and purpose. The battlefield is a place where hesitation is fatal and errors are magnified. Yet amidst this pressure, she emerged as the decisive factor, the fulcrum upon which the outcome would pivot. The adversaries, confident in their superiority, underestimated not just her skill, but the audacity and resolve that would redefine the encounter in ways they could not have imagined. The environment itself was hostile, every step through debris, shadow, and smoke layered with risk. Each movement could trigger a response. Each action could provoke retaliation. And yet she moved with a combination of calculated aggression and flawless timing that seemed to bend the battlefield to her will. The odds were stacked against her. She was outnumbered, outgunned, and yet entirely undeterred. What made the difference was not just physical capability, but an internal mastery, a focused clarity of purpose that allowed her to process threats, predict enemy responses, and manipulate the flow of the fight faster than anyone could anticipate. In that way, she became more than an individual. She became the axis around which the entire engagement rotated. The SEALs, experienced in facing extreme danger and making life-or-death decisions under the harshest conditions, recognized the moment immediately. They saw the subtle shift in momentum, the instant when hesitation among the enemy set in, and they realized that one person's decisiveness could ripple across the battlefield, altering strategies, priorities, and reactions in real time. It was a reminder that in combat, numbers are not always decisive. Impact, initiative, and mastery of timing can overwhelm numerical advantage when wielded with intent. Her presence, her choices, and her execution forced everyone around her to react to her rhythm, her tempo, and her awareness, turning what appeared to be insurmountable odds into a controlled, manageable scenario. Every action she took was purposeful. Every step was measured against both opportunity and threat, a choreography of survival and aggression executed in real time. Adversaries who had expected fear, hesitation, or predictable behavior instead faced unpredictability, precision, and lethal intent. In the chaos of rapid movement, shifting lines of sight, and overlapping threats, she identified vulnerabilities that were invisible to anyone untrained in the art of combat, exploiting them with a combination of speed, accuracy, and judgment that was awe-inspiring even to seasoned observers. The battlefield, once a domain of overwhelming danger, became a canvas upon which her skill and initiative could be painted, each stroke reshaping the engagement and turning uncertainty into advantage. The psychological effect of her actions was profound. Allies drew confidence from her decisiveness, responding with renewed focus and determination, while the enemies were forced to adapt in real time, second-guessing their plans and recalculating under pressure. The disruption she created was not simply physical. It was mental, imposing doubt where there had been certainty, hesitation where there had been aggression, and opening gaps that would never have existed if not for her fearless initiative. It is in these subtle yet critical shifts that the tide of battle is truly turned, where one person's choices resonate far beyond the immediate moment to influence the outcome of the entire engagement. She demonstrated that the combination of courage, skill, precision, and decisiveness can redefine the parameters of combat. Even against overwhelming odds, the right person, operating with clarity and confidence, can seize control and impose their will upon the situation. Every threat neutralized, every calculated movement, and every split-second decision contributed to a cascade effect that shifted momentum, forcing adversaries into defensive positions and creating openings that her team could exploit. Her actions were not isolated. They were the catalyst, the force multiplier that transformed risk into opportunity, chaos into order, and disadvantage into dominance. In the end, this moment was a testament to what one individual can achieve under pressure, proving that even in environments designed to overwhelm and defeat, initiative, skill, and courage can turn the tide. Her presence demonstrated the extraordinary potential of decisive action, the power of mastery under pressure, and the undeniable truth that in any conflict, it only takes one operative, fearless, precise, and unrelenting, to change the course of events, to redefine expectations, and to create victory where all odds seemed stacked against success.